Here's why seniors never keep these 9 foods in the refrigerator. Did you realize that foodborne illness claims the lives of over 9,000 elderly annually? And incorrect food storage is directly responsible for more than 95% of the fatalities. Indeed, this also applies to items that were never intended to be cold. More than 82% of seniors keep at least one food in the refrigerator, which is subtly harming their health. You may believe that the food is remaining fresh, but it's actually deteriorating more quickly, losing nutrients and producing toxins that your older body is unable to combat. According to startling new research, some foods lose nutrients, release toxins, and become hazardous when kept cold, especially for aging immunological and digestive systems. And the outcome? There is no warning label for bloating, blood pressure increases, mental fog, or even bacterial infestation in your gut. The 9 foods you should never keep in the refrigerator are listed in this video in order of least to most dangerous. Keep reading because the last one is currently in almost every senior's kitchen and might induce gas, exhaustion, and intestinal problems in a matter of days. Tell us where you are watching us from today in the comments section before we get started. So let's get started without further ado. Tomatoes are the 9th food. Tomatoes become less healthy and more unpleasant for the aging digestive system when they are refrigerated, in addition to making them taste worse. After age 65, the stomach finds it more difficult to break down fibrous meals, digestion slows down, and enzyme synthesis decreases. When tomatoes are kept in the refrigerator, they become physiologically more difficult for the elderly stomach to digest. The tomato's fragile cell membranes are harmed by cold temperatures. The internal structure collapses as a result, giving the appearance of mushiness. Internally, however, that structural breakdown results in decreased quantities of important antioxidants, lycopene, and active digesting enzymes. Lycopene is essential for aging bodies because it promotes heart health, vascular health, and reduces inflammatory indicators. However, those molecules begin to break down quickly after they are refrigerated. A cool tomato is not only tasteless for elderly people who already have GERD, acid reflux, or intestinal inflammation, but it also irritates their digestive tract. It ferments more readily in the GI tract, digests more slowly, and may cause acid rebound, tightness in the stomach, or even bloating after meals. These discomforts aren't coincidental. Rather, they are the direct result of consuming tomatoes, whose essential structure was changed by cold, making it impossible for your body to metabolize them effectively. This is a matter of survival, not preference. Nutrient absorption becomes more difficult after age 65, and you simply cannot afford to throw away the little bioavailable nourishment that remains in your diet. When let to mature completely on the counter, tomatoes are at their most nutrient-dense. When properly matured, their natural enzymes remain intact, their lycopene becomes more useful, and their vitamin C levels rise, supporting rather than taxing your gut. The workable solution: don't store your tomatoes in the refrigerator. Put them in a basin in a cool, dry location, stem side down. Eat them when they're ripe. To increase the absorption of lycopene, simmer them gently in sauces if they get overly ripe. However, don't put them in the refrigerator to prolong their shelf life. In actuality, you're diminishing their worth and having your digestive system work more for less. The 8th food: bananas. Many people consider bananas to be the most senior-safe fruit. They are high in potassium, soft, and simple to chew, but keeping them in the refrigerator negates all of those benefits. The ripening enzymes in bananas are instantly inhibited by cold. This explains why the inside remains rubbery, starchy, and tasteless, while the peel becomes brown or gray. However, the behavior of that underripened banana within a digestive system that is 65 years of age or older is more important than texture. It is more difficult to break down unripe bananas. They contain starches that are resistant to being converted into sugars that can be used. Your pancreas is under increased pressure to control glucose as a result. This causes spikes and crashes for an elderly person whose insulin reaction is slower. Jitteriness, hunger immediately after eating, morning weariness, and brain fog. Poor ripening causes a blood sugar roller coaster in addition to decreased energy. Let's now discuss gut impact. Pectin and soluble fiber are abundant in bananas, but only when they are completely ripe. Early chilling causes those threads to solidify and become sticky. For this reason, cold bananas are known to result in bloating, trapped gas, and constipation, particularly in elderly people who already have mobility problems. A chilly banana aggravates a sluggish stomach. You are aware of the connection if you have ever eaten a cold banana that morning and felt bloated but backed up, full but heavy. The vascular risk is another. In order to maintain blood pressure regulation and muscle function, particularly in the legs, seniors who consume bananas for potassium benefits require that potassium. However, an unripe banana has less accessible potassium. Because refrigeration stops ripening, the nutrients are trapped within in a form that is difficult for your aged gut to process. The solution is straightforward yet crucial. Eat only naturally ripened bananas on the counter rather than in the refrigerator. There should be brown dots on the peel. It should have a smooth, slightly sweet interior. At that point, the potassium is ready to operate, the fiber is soft, and the starches have transformed. Don't chill overripe bananas. Instead, freeze them. Nutrients are locked in by freezing. They are killed by refrigeration. Food number 7. Onions. Onions are touted for their gut and heart health benefits. But when they're refrigerated, everything changes. For elderly people, such shift can make the difference between intestinal chaos and support. When you put an onion in the refrigerator, this is what happens. Moisture is absorbed by its outer skin. That dampness starts a chemical reaction, and that moisture turns into condensation. When you cut the onion open, you release a concentrated hit of gas and acid that your body isn't prepared to manage uncooked, especially after 65. The onion starts to sweat sulfur compounds. Sulfur compounds become irritants when they oxidize in a cold atmosphere. In an attempt to digest what now feels like a chemical irritant, your gut, which is already slower and more sensitive with age, produces additional acid. Later on, you will notice the difference even if you can't taste it. Hours after eating, you may experience intestinal pressure, tightness in your chest, burning in your throat, gas, or stomach tension. This sets off a domino effect for elderly people who already have irritable bowel syndrome, hiatal hernia, or acid reflux. Acid is triggered by cold onions. The esophageal valve is weakened by acid. More acid can seep upward as a result. One cold onion in your sandwich or salad can suddenly bring hours of discomfort and sleep disturbance. That's not all, though. Prebiotics are fiber-containing substances found in onions that support the good bacteria in your stomach. These enhance stool consistency and help control blood sugar. However, the cold and moisture in the refrigerator weaken that fiber in onions. The harsh, fibrous substance that remains becomes more fermentable, which means that as your intestines attempt to break it down, they produce more gas. You're not imagining it if eating raw onions has made you feel bloated, gassy, or drowsy. Your stomach is having trouble breaking down food that it was never designed to process in a chilly environment. How can this be fixed? Whole onions should be kept in a drawer rather than the refrigerator in a dry, well-ventilated container. Use them right away after cutting them, never days later. Additionally, prepare them gently if you have a sensitive stomach. Cooking makes digestion easier, neutralizes harsh substances, and releases more of the natural sulfur that improves circulation and cleanses the liver. Onions are helpful when utilized properly. Refrigerated onions, however, they do more harm than good. Honey The sixth food. One of nature's most potent healing agents is honey, but if you put it in the refrigerator, its entire biological makeup is destroyed. Honey crystallizes when it becomes cold. It is not only more difficult to scoop as a result of that process, it separates the sugar, breaks down the healthy chemicals, and disrupts the natural enzymes. The thick, golden medication you believe you are consuming is not what you are left with. It turns into a chilly, clumpy sugar explosion that is devoid of nutrients. This poses a risk to the elderly. Raw honey calms digestion, boosts immunity, and helps control blood sugar. However, all goes awry when you put it in the refrigerator. As soon as the glucose enters your system, it separates from the rest of the structure, resulting in quicker sugar absorption. This entails elevated inflammation, energy slumps, and blood sugar increases. Particularly risky for elderly people who are trying to control their weight, insulin resistance, or weariness. However, that is not the only risk. Cold honey gets too sticky and thickens. That might not seem like much until you consider that it could become a choking hazard, particularly for elderly people who have swallowing issues, dry mouth, or decreased saliva. Digestive obstructions can also result from thick honey adhering to the gums or back of the throat, particularly when combined with dry meals like bread or oats. You're not imagining it if you've been using chilled honey, believing it to be beneficial, and you've noticed an increase in acid reflux, heaviness in your stomach, or sugar crashes after breakfast. The enzymes have died. Antioxidants are no longer present. All you're consuming is syrup. The solution is straightforward. Keep honey sealed, at room temperature, and out of direct sunlight and heat in a dark cabinet. Don't freak out even if it crystallizes. To reliquefy, just submerge the sealed jar in warm, not hot water. Don't microwave it. That totally ruins the delicate properties. Keep it alive, keep it warm, and allow it to do what it was designed to do. Support your body. Garlic is the fifth food. When used and maintained properly, garlic is well known for decreasing blood pressure, strengthening immunity, and protecting the heart. Garlic loses all of its potent properties when it is refrigerated, becoming a substance that irritates your stomach, impairs digestion, and erodes your defenses. The harsh reality is that garlic is a living, breathing bulb. The garlic becomes unstable if you store it in a cold, damp refrigerator. As soon as it begins to sprout, a chemical change occurs. Allicin, the active ingredient, starts to break down and is replaced by sulfuric byproducts. In a person already coping with poor digestion, decreased stomach acid, or gastrointestinal problems brought on by medicine, those byproducts are particularly harsh, acute, and inflammatory. This explains why eating garlic might make you feel bloated, queasy, burpy, or even a little lightheaded. Garlic kept in the refrigerator can irritate the stomach and create symptoms similar to food poisoning. Seniors are particularly at risk because aging weakens the digestive tract's mucosal defenses, making it prone to the sulfur fumes and unstable oils that cold-damaged garlic releases. What should I do instead? Garlic should be kept in a cool, dry drawer in a ventilated mesh bag or basket that is never sealed or kept cold. Fresh garlic should be crushed. If you have sensitive stomach, let it wait for 10 minutes before cooking it gently. This keeps its therapeutic ingredients alive, neutralizes harsh sulfur, and softens its acids. While cold garlic might destroy your digestive tract, cooked garlic can still boost immunity. Potatoes are the fourth food. Stop right away if you've been keeping potatoes in the refrigerator to extend their shelf life. That behavior may be prolonging shelf life, but it's causing a series of negative effects on your health, including stress on your digestive system, blood pressure instability, and toxin buildup. Let's dissect it. A chemical defense mechanism is triggered in raw potatoes when they are cooled. Sugars start to form from starches. When you cook those potatoes, that sugar conversion may appear harmless. These sugars react with amino acids when baked or fried to form acrylamides, which are harmful substances associated with nerve damage, sluggish metabolism, cellular stress, and chronic inflammation. This covert reaction may be exacerbating nerve problems, tremors, exhaustion, or mental fog if you are over 65. What follows? Bloating, gassiness, sturdy limbs, does blood sugar crash, pressure in the stomach. These indicate more than just overeating. These are signs that a food that has been chemically altered in the refrigerator has overwhelmed your body. Additionally, discard any potatoes that have sprouts in the refrigerator right away. Glycoalkaloids, which are naturally occurring toxins that irritate the gut, impair nerve function, and can actually cause limb weakness, cramping in the muscles, and brain fog, are present in those sprouts. Only from a sprouting potato, yes. Potatoes are a common comfort food for seniors. But nothing is more pleasant than eating a dish that is inflating your gut, clouding your judgment, and subtly depleting your energy. It gets worse the longer it is chilly. Bread is the third food. Bread feels easy and secure. The consequences worsen beyond age 65. However, once you refrigerate it, it changes completely, becoming something your body finds difficult to identify, digest, or absorb. The science is here. Retrogradation is the structural change that bread's starches go through when it is chilled. The bread's soft, absorbent portions solidify. The gluten becomes more rigid. The crumb becomes a hard, rubbery mass as it loses moisture. The worst part comes next. Your stomach cannot take it. Your capacity to digest dense starches declines with age. These complex carbs require fewer active enzymes to break down. This implies that the now hardened bread remains in the stomach for a longer period of time, which results in delayed digestion, gas buildup, bloating, constipation, and chronic blood sugar instability. In your digestive tract, what seems like a harmless piece of toast turns into a slow-moving block. The stomach aches. Your insulin levels rise. Your vitality plummets. Your bowel movements become slower. Remember how most elderly people prepare cold bread? They give it a toast. However, toasting cold, hardened bread does not make it better. It simply dries out the inside and burns the outside. You wind up with a burned, dried-out piece of food that requires more chewing, more acid, more insulin, and provides you with virtually nothing. This is probably the cause if you've ever felt sluggish for hours after breakfast or full yet heavy after toast. The remedy is straightforward and effective. If you plan to consume bread within a few days, store it in a bread box at room temperature. Freeze it for longer storage. Don't put it in the fridge. Without causing the starch to break down, freezing preserves the suppleness and nutrients. To restore texture without causing digestive distress, reheat it slowly in the oven or toaster when you're ready. For optimal gut health, choose whole grain bread that is low in sugar and preservatives. Additionally, make sure your mornings are light, clean, and invigorating. The second food, beans or ground coffee. One of the most frequently mismanaged meals in senior kitchens is coffee, and the refrigerator is where the harm begins. Many elderly people keep their coffee, either ground or whole, in the refrigerator in the hopes that it will stay fresh. However, the exact opposite occurs. The flavor of your coffee is destroyed, its nutrients are depleted, and internal dangers are triggered by that cold, humid air. Coffee absorbs a lot of water. It absorbs smells and moisture from its surroundings. Condensation develops inside the bag or container after it is placed in the refrigerator. Mold spores are activated by the unseen wetness. It breaks down the bean's inherent oils. And coffee isn't what you're left with. It's an acidic, bitter beverage that can cause renal stress, upset your stomach, and leave you feeling more exhausted, nauseous, and wired than energized. Seniors who have sensitive digestive systems are most affected. It's most likely not the brand if your morning coffee now causes jitters, tightness in the stomach, or acid reflux. It is the deterioration of oil and mold brought on by cold storage. Furthermore, the effects extend beyond the stomach. The bladder is overstimulated by oxidized coffee oils. If you drink it later in the day, you'll have more frequent bowel movements, sleep disturbances, and less peaceful mornings. This is crucial for elders dealing with incontinence, prostate problems, or sleep disorders. Bad coffee might affect your mental health as well. It's not your age if drinking coffee makes it harder to concentrate and makes your thoughts more hazy. Your brain and nerves are being struck by the rotten oils. Here's how to make it better. Keep whole beans, not ground, at room temperature in a dry location in an airtight, opaque container. Unless vacuum sealing for long-term preservation, never freeze or refrigerate. Throw out your coffee if it tastes harsh, smells bad, or makes you feel worse rather than better. The best way to keep the benefits clear, the acidity under control, and your energy pure is to grind your beans fresh right before brewing. The first food is avocados. When stored properly, avocados are the ideal food for heart health, brain fuel, heart support, and excellent fats. However, you ruin everything the instant you put an unripe avocado in the refrigerator. I feel terrible for the elderly. That harm is severe. This is what really occurs. Temperature-sensitive enzymes are necessary for an unripe avocado to mature effectively. Refrigeration, however, inhibits those enzymes. The fruit ceases to grow. It loses its structure of good fats and becomes stringy on the inside and rubbery on the outside. Rather than remaining heart protective, those oils start to oxidize, which makes them more inflammatory, difficult to digest, and taxing on aging organs. Your body no longer processes fats as it once did if you are over 65. After meals, oxidized fats, such as those found in a cold damaged avocado, can cause bloating, nausea, or severe stomach pain by increasing LDL cholesterol, irritating the gallbladder, and causing slow bile flow. This explains why you may have experienced unusual stomach pressure after consuming guacamole or avocado toast that didn't taste right. However, things worsen. Avocados that are kept in the cold produce a lot of oleic acid metabolites, which irritate the lining of the stomach in elderly people who have less motility. The outcome? This degraded fat source is the underlying cause of the gas, bowel irregularities, cramps, and weariness that appear hours later and are mistakenly attributed to age or other foods. And a lot of elderly people do this unknowingly. To extend their shelf life, they purchase underripe avocados and store them in the refrigerator. However, they decompose chemically from the inside out, rather than remaining intact. The flesh becomes nutritionally lifeless, acidic, bitter, and inflammatory, while the outside remains green. You're not doing your body any good if you eat avocado for heart health, digestion, or mental clarity yet store it improperly. You're wasting the one food that could have helped, inflaming your gut, and silently pressuring your liver. This is your remedy. Avocados should always be ripe at room temperature. They are ripe when the skin becomes black and gives slightly. You should only put them in the refrigerator for a maximum of 24 to 48 hours after that. Eat them right away and throw them out if they seem rubbery, smell bad, or seem gray. Oils that have oxidized are worse than none at all. You finally understand the reality. Food isn't the only thing your refrigerator keeps cool. It can be subtly harming your digestive system, depleting your vitality, and hastening the precise symptoms you're attempting to combat after the age of 65. Despite their seemingly harmless appearance, the 9 meals we just discussed cause inflammation, impair digestion, raise blood sugar, and weaken your body day in and day out. You already have too much to handle. Get rid of the cold, damaged food so your kitchen doesn't work against you. Adhere to the fixes. Take every precaution to keep your body safe. Because even the tiniest adjustment can have a significant impact at this age. Tell us in the comments before you leave. Which food have you been keeping in the refrigerator without giving it a second thought? And please click the subscribe button if this video opened your eyes. Because we publish essential, senior-focused health films every week to help you stay independent, strong, and sharp. You're not too old. You can feel better with just one wise choice. Please feel free to leave any comments or questions in the space provided below. Thank you for viewing.